Eurogamer, they're an outlier right now. They're an outlier. KCD2 just launched, or review embargo launched. It launches in a handful of hours. But they are an outlier because right now the Metacritic, as of when I'm saying this, the Metacritic for KCD2 is in the low 90s. It is universal critical acclaim. Everybody's eating it up. It's one of my favorite games I've ever played. I love it dearly. And yet Eurogamer came out and gave it a 6 out of 10. How could they do that? What they said was, it is a hard and maddening slog at times, but one that still has its moments where it surprises and quietly delights. Like the original, this isn't an RPG designed to make you feel good. You continue to be little more than a passenger in this historical tapestry, following alongside or along behind the horse. Blah, 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 blah. I would pull this up and we would read it, but my general rule is that I don't engage with stuff that I feel is motivated through bad faith. When it's people not being genuine in their critiques or their opinions on something, but they're just regurgitating what they feel they need to for the sake of their dogma or opinions as dictated by peer pressure from their communities, whatever else. That holds for people that blindly hype stuff up because they're like, oh, I'm a Bethesda Game Studios channel. I have to hype up Starfield no matter what. It has to be the game of the generation no matter what, even though it looks really lackluster. I don't engage with that stuff except maybe poking fun at it, as we're doing here with this Eurogamer thing. And it goes on the flip side when people are being ridiculously negative about something and arguing in bad faith about it. And the reason this is important for Eurogamer is because they also they had an interesting take back in the day with the original Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Do you guys remember one of the quote unquote scandals around the original KCD2? There were some types of gaming journalists that were upset that this retelling of medieval, a knight's tale in medieval Bohemia, they were frustrated that it had so many like white people in it, which sounds insane. It's like, it would be like playing Ghost of Tsushima and being like, I don't know, man, it's too Japanese for me. It's like, what are you talking about, man? They didn't even give the original game a score, okay? As Daniel Vavra, the like actual game director of KCD, tweets out here, instead of challenging the Dark Age, it reinterprets 615 years later. The game seems to delight in it. Instead of seeing notes in the margin of a history book, we get what feels like a glossy pamphlet advertising an escape into an oddly romanticized past. And it's that blah, 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 blah going on, basically calling them racist for having so many like Europeans in this game. Of course, they gave Dragon Age of Veilguard a perfect score, said it was the best entry in the series, right up there with the best of BioWare of all time. Bold take. Okay. What they go on to say, though, this is also a clip from Michael because I don't want to pull up the article myself and give them ad revenue. There are many times I wish Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was easier to like, easier to get into, easier to enjoy, and easier to savor in the long run. And that's before we get into the naughty briar patch of its director being a vocal supporter of a movement whose effects continue to cause real and tangible harm to the wider industry. This, I believe, is in response to his statement saying that you should just make good games and not focus on like virtue signaling stuff for cultural reasons. He said, just make a good game instead. And this is apparently bad enough that this should be brought up in the review. But I also don't think it really cares about being liked either, which is fine, as I don't really like it myself. But there's a lot to admire here, sure, but you have to do so on its own terms. It is a hard and maddening slog at times, but one that still has its moments where it surprises and quietly delights. What? Their X post, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, is a gorgeous medieval RPG that continues to be just as divisive, prickly, and abrasive as its predecessor. Whenever a game journalist, quote unquote journalist, reviews a video game and they start bringing up the political history or motivations of the game's creators, you might be dealing with somebody who's not actually reviewing the game, but they're more just checking it against a Puritan checklist of whether it does what it's supposed to do. It's like, it's not about being a good game, it's about being an important game. That's why Dragon Age of Veilguard was so good, because it wasn't necessarily good, it was important. Who cares if it's a good game? So Eurogamer is one of those outlets that I mean, I don't think you should take seriously. I don't take seriously. I'm not going to pull up their article and give them ad revenue. I'm good, because I don't think that they were actually engaging with the game in good faith. I think they went into it knowing that they were going to give it a bad score because they didn't like the creative director, saying that he prioritizes game design above everything else, and that's that. Class Ambrose says that's the same reviewer as the Wukong review. Yeah, and they also went against Wukong for the same reasons as that IGN hit piece where they were trying to get Black Myth Wukong canceled because some developers said things that were quite crude. If you translated them through Google Translate, they came out quite crude. The other most hilarious thing at the end of that whole Black Myth Wukong hit piece that they did was that they came out and said at the very end of this whole like hit piece on the game, they came out and said, and the other concerning thing about Game Science as a studio is that if you look at their logo, it looks sort of like a sperm. So the logo, you say, looks vaguely like a sperm, and therefore they hate women or something. I don't understand how these pieces connect, man. Like, again, if you made the logo look kind of like fallopian tubes or something, would that mean that they hate men? No, I don't think so. Like, what are you talking about? It just is actual brain rot. It's on both sides of the aisle at any given time. Don't get me wrong. There's stupid people everywhere. But that was another level of like, you just said that and didn't burst into like tears laughing at yourself. Everyone who just heard you say that is dumber and has had their IQ lowered as a result of being exposed to your thought process. So anyway, Eurogamer, similar thing. I don't think they were ever going to engage with the game in good faith. I'm shocked that they were given a review code anyways after how poorly they treated everybody at Warhorse with the first game. But I mean, that's just where we are. Sometimes some slip through the cracks. On the one hand, props to them for still giving them review codes so that, you know, they kind of rise above it. But also, I would not have shed a tear if they did not send them a review code. So there you go. Anyway, KCD2 is fantastic and I highly recommend it and I love it dearly and it's all I can think about. And I've been opening the collector's edition for after the review lifted. And now the review's out, so I can open that. Maybe we'll do that later on stream. I'm glad to see other people are also loving it. After Neon Knight's preview, I was like, I bet he's gonna like it. And his review, 170 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, my full review. And he's like, it's one of my favorite games ever. I love it dearly and it's really good. I just can't wait to play it again. That's the thing. Most big RPGs you spend dozens upon dozens of hours in, you get to the end and you know, you're like, okay, I'm closing the book, I'm ready to move on. But I just think with this, it's just so good, you just want to keep going. You know, it's really impressive. If anything, maybe I'll wait to do another run until they release the hardcore mode, because they have a hardcore mode that introduces even more like sim elements, and so maybe I'll wait for that. He took my thing. Red flag.